And I guess one more time, we want to thank everybody who came back. We know it's been a long day, but hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as we have. Thanks. And while we're here, let's give a round of applause for Cleo. And thank Cleo for setting the record straight. Jack? All right. We appreciate that. Thanks. Now we got the whole story. But seriously, it means a lot to us that all of y'all came out. We love you all. And we know it's a lot to travel here and to spend time here and to get hotels here and for us to do this for fun and for free. It takes a lot of cooperation from you. So as much as we do, really thank the speakers, because without them too, none of this could be possible. And thank yourselves for even sticking out the whole day. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible either. So thank you. I guess let's just get quiet for a second, and just get still, and just say a quick prayer. God, I pray that you may open up our eyes so that we may see you, that you may open up our ears so that we may hear you, and then most importantly, that you open up our hearts so that we can experience you. Amen. And with that, can we get a friend of ours to come up and read a little something before we get started? Emily. Let's go. It's a little long. You'll be all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily. So, Step 10 and 11 reading. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve, I can't say that, contingent? Thank you. On the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, Thy will be done. We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, and self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy, foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works. It really does.
All right, and with that, we're going to introduce our speaker on steps 10 and 11, Nikoleta D.
Oh my God. Okay, hi. I'm Nikoleta, I'm an alcoholic. Hi. It's the warm-up. Hold on. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be of service, to be asked to participate in my own recovery. It's take 2. I had this experience last year. It was incredible. It was completely opposite of what my mind said would happen, which is happening again. The mind is commenting all kinds of stuff. And the one thing I've learned over the years is I don't have to believe it. Not to resist the thought. The thought will still come. All kinds of thoughts will still come. They'll come and they'll try to convince me of a lot of things, and they'll give me a great narrative, and some of it will be really juicy, and yet there will be also something that's witnessing the thought.
And you know, like I'm asked to speak about 10 and 11, so juicy, so much depth and weight. I mean, there's so much in those few pages in the book, and it's like so beautiful. It makes no sense unless you had the experience of 1 through 9. 1 through 9 already set the stage, and all of the speakers already spoke so beautifully. I've been touched, I've been moved, I've been inspired, I have teared up. I mean, I don't know about you, right? You guys, you felt, you know, I felt the chills down my spine. Is that the way you say it? Yeah. I felt the shiver, you know, that like it hit my gut and like it moved me out of my chair and like, you know, you make me feel from the neck down. You remind me of the gift I've been given. It's like really moving stuff. Like that stuff is priceless. You know. My sober date is September 15, 2006. On September 14, 2006, under the influence of alcohol, my solution to the misery, depression, the incomprehensible demoralization that I was in was to end my life. That was the final thing. That is the only thing I haven't come up with yet, that I haven't tried. And because I failed at everything else. I couldn't control my drinking, I couldn't control my thinking, I couldn't control life. It was miserable, and alcohol wasn't really working anymore, and I couldn't draw a sober breath. And something like really profound happened. That's my story, really. I mean, it was a split second, it was a manipulated pause. It was the most humble prayer I ever said that I didn't even know was a prayer. And it was the most honest thing I have said in years, and that's I can't stop drinking. And there was like, there's a knowing you're an alcoholic, and then there's a knowing. There was a knowing. There was a knowing that there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. Like lack of power was my dilemma. I was powerless. I had no power. Zero. None. There was nothing. It didn't matter that I didn't want to drink. It didn't matter what was on the line. It didn't matter how much pain I've already been through. It didn't matter. The promises, nothing mattered. Like I was going to drink. That was my step one. And from that place, there was an intuitive thought to ask for a quarter to get to a New York City payphone, to call my sister without losing that one quarter, and to ask for help. And my sober date is the next day. And it's been my day so far, because I don't know what the next moment brings. Forget tomorrow. Like I have no idea if I'm going to drink again. That's the truth. The red carpet of Alcoholics Anonymous, rolled out in front of me in the form of a long-term treatment center where I was locked down in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and that was a great second solution. My second solution, so the first one was to end my life, the second one was to stay locked up. That's the best I can do. That's my version of freedom. That's my version of freedom. That's the best my mind can come up with. What a limited mind. What a limited mind. Right? I come here pregnant with possibility, opportunity, miracles. Every speaker that spoke, you could feel the transformation. Who they're talking about that they were or even are in terms of their character defects doesn't match what I'm experiencing as they stand here. I feel their gratitude. I feel the humility. I feel the desire to grow in understanding and effectiveness. I can sense it. Where does that come from? Yeah? And then I'm the luckiest girl in the world because I don't want to leave this lockdown setting, and they're like, you gotta go. And I'm like, I don't want to go, and they're like, you gotta go. And you're ready to go because you don't want to go. You figure that one out, right? I end up in a sober house in New Jersey, and within 2 days I meet my sponsor, and she's been my sponsor ever since. As a matter of fact, I meet 5 important people in my 17 years of sobriety in the first week of landing in New Jersey. And they have been my mentors ever since. And, she qualified me. She stood there, incredibly attractive. There was freedom in her eyes. There was something about her eyes. She had confidence and humility at the same time. I was curious. I wanted more. I trusted her. I didn't trust you. I trusted her. I didn't understand what the book was talking about, but I was willing to take the direction that she was giving me. And also I was dying. I knew my life depended on it. I knew how much trouble I was in because I was an alcoholic. Step one sets the stage for the rest of the work. Because of the step one experience, the byproduct was the willingness. I'm not willing. I didn't get willing. Willingness was born out of desperation. That is the gift of desperation. It is not your fault if you're not willing, but there might be a problem with step one and understanding really what you suffer from. Because I didn't come here because I drank too much at prom. When I realized I'm an alcoholic, I was like, oh my God, I can never drink again. Oh my God, I can never drink again. Never. Never means never. I'm legless. I will never walk again. There's no reservation, there's no plan for the future, there's no something is going to change it. It was like, not only I cannot ever drink again successfully, but I'm screwed. I don't know how to relate to life, I don't know how to relate to others, I don't know how to live life, I don't know how to be one with life, I don't know how to connect to others. I have failed at that. And I'm so lucky because she was like, not only did she tell me how much trouble I was in and how sick I was, but she said we're going to go through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like exactly as they're outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're going to have an experience, and the only thing that I ask of you is that you pay it forward. And I've been doing that for 17 years. And, well, it works. It works. For the most part, I travel lightly through life. For the most part. Allowing my humanness to come in and the mind with its commentary, and things come up and they crop up, and when they do, I have some tools. But each step that I took, that first kiss, and there's been many inventories since then, because it's a little bit different to do inventory in sobriety than the first inventory that blamed a lot on my drinking, right? I mean, I was checked out. I was checked out for a decade. I can't put together that decade. When did what happen and how it happened, I was just coming to events that would occur as a result of my drunkenness. It's a whole nother story to write inventory in sobriety and to see how self-manifested in various ways is what defeats us. But, that first time around, there was an experience with each step, and I was empowered and curious and moved and felt ready to take the next step. I felt, I was willing to step into the unknown in the second step, and I committed to this relationship in the third step that I didn't understand. I didn't know if it can be personal to me, but I believed that it worked in your life. And I believed my sponsor, that she had one personal to her. And I believed her when she told me that it's possible for me to have this relationship. But the first step of that relationship is to make a decision to be in one. And that was followed by this search for truth. 4 through 9, in the fourth step, really everything was up for review. Cards on the table face up, let's take a look at, everything that happens inside of you. How do you relate to life? How do you see yourself? How do you see the opposite sex? Let's look at your family dynamics, where you're pissed, irritated, discontent, uncomfortable in your own skin. I love what Cleo said. I remember when I was making amends, the barometer was, would you want to be stuck in the elevator with this person? It's quite a few people I didn't want to be stuck in the elevator with. I felt some sort of way about them. You know what I mean? I wasn't free. And then there was this experience in the fifth of, what it looks like when we're seeking truth with no agenda and no preference. Not my truth or what I would like to be truth or what's a juicier story to be true, but just really what's the truth. And a lot of these stories that are built in my head, a lot of these resentments and grievances and difficulties and complaints and arguments that I had with life really were never even questioned whether they were true. They would never quite. I loved how Julie talked about that. Like, the second column is like, is it even true? My father abandoned me. No, my parents divorced. But, that he abandoned me is a lot juicier. And, like, I can get loaded with that one and look for relief, and it's a juicy story, and I can look like a victim in front of you and a martyr in front of you, and I can play with that one and, all of that stuff. So everything was up for review, and the prayer was just, I want to know the truth. I just want to see the truth. I want to see the truth. I don't know how to see the truth, but I was willing to pray this prayer. And then, it's so funny. It's like, showing up for an operation, it's like a surgery, you just don't get up and don't play doctor. And something happens. And I don't know how that happens and why that happens, and I don't know at what point that happens, and, like, all of these things kind of connect to each other, but, like, I can say that sincerity and earnestness and that willingness that was given to me played a big part. Like I did the best when given this stuff. Like, it wasn't about the mechanics. They were important. It wasn't about understanding this stuff and understanding this lingo. It was just like coming in with the heart, like, I want to be changed. I need to be changed. You guys have something that I don't understand and I don't know how to be a part of, and I'm willing to listen, and I'm going to take direction. And, the great thing is that my sponsor, when she met me, like, first exercise was sit quietly for 2 minutes. I had like 4 months sober. Okay, I didn't last 30 seconds. I mean, like, 2 minutes was an eternity. 30 seconds was an eternity. That's the truth, actually, because I was cheating at 30 seconds. Like, within seconds, I was peeking out, All she asked me was to sit with myself for 2 minutes. And I couldn't do it, and I failed at that, and she wanted me to fail at that. That was a lesson. That in itself was a teaching. The point wasn't to do these exercises perfectly, but just to see how little I knew of myself. And to see that I wasn't able to sit comfortably in my own skin. In sobriety. In early recovery. And to get curious about that stuff. And, so I had this experience in the fifth step, which is really incredible. And like those, you have to have the experience for the promises to really make sense to you. I can look the world in the eye. I'm at perfect peace and ease, or something like that. Like, whatever it says, like, I had that experience. Like, drinking was not even the last thing on my mind. Like, there was a bigger fish to fry here. Like, there was something like huge going on. Like, this was like a complete transformation. And that fifth step was just incredible, because I don't think I've ever been that honest with anyone in my life. Because I always had an image to protect. I was managing self-image, managing how you saw me, managing what I can get from you, managing what I didn't want to lose, right? Everything was a chess game, strategizing the next move. And that's tiring, number one. And it's also manipulative. To manage better is to manipulate better. It's the same thing. It means the same thing. I didn't know how to be in life in a very real, honest, vulnerable way. So I had this experience with her in the fifth step, and 6 and 7, I see that I'm powerless over my character defects, that no matter how much I know better, and no matter how much I even want to change myself for the better, or move in a different way, some of these things are sticky, and they show up, and they come up, and like it puts me on this like search to like deepen my relationship with this power. This power of its understanding. Because I don't understand it. And I don't want a power that fits in my mind. I don't want a power that can be understood. I want my mind to fit in the power. I don't want the power to fit in my mind. Because I have a college degree, a philosophy degree, with a 50-page thesis I wrote on a proof that there is no God. So I will debate you, and I will win. Okay? I mean, and I say that humbly. So my sponsor knew that I would like just chew up anything like that. My mind would just intellectualize it and chew it up and give it a twist. And so this is why my second step was really stepping into the unknown. And it was about building a relationship with the depth of my being. From the neck down. The name of the game was from the neck down. I was not to get information from the mind. I was not to get information from the mind. I remember calling her from a payphone in the sober house, and I was like, I had doubt, and she said, doubt. And, you just like the mind has nowhere to go. Like, I can't argue with that. Like, it's just like, I just got paused. And I would have moments like this where I would get paused. Like, I would call her from a payphone. I would say, I'm having the best day. It's a great day. And she's like, why? Is everything going your way? And like, every way that she responded to me, there was a lesson. There was a lesson about how I was trained to expectations, and I conditioned life to be a certain way in order for me to be free, in order for me to be okay. And there was no life at all. And this is why I kept hitting, like, bumping into reality and arguing with it. And, and then there was just like this, Cleo, you do not have to give back $30,000 to have juicy amends stories, man. You killed it. Seriously, that was incredible, but that was really where I tasted the freedom. It's the first time we leave our bedroom. Think about that. The first time I face the world is in step 9. I don't leave the comfort of my little sober house bunk bed until step 9. It's incredible what the mind will convince me and prevent me from experiencing. I don't have to leave my room until step 9. But I have to have courage and that willingness born out of desperation, born out of pain, born out of understanding of how much trouble I'm in. This is the last house on the block. I don't like it. This is not my preference. I don't want what you have. I don't want to be like you, but I failed at everything. I am cornered. I am surrendered. I didn't surrender. I'm surrendered. That pink cloud, that grace period has an expiration date. It's given me enough time to fall in love with what you have to offer, to check it out, to taste it, to marinate in it. And it's only asking me to check out myself. Check myself. How's that working for you? Are you happy? Are you free? How you doing? And it's like these experiences, right? 9 out of 10 times in the amends, the unexpected happens. That's not a mistake. It's not a typo. 9 out of 10 times, the unexpected happens. And what I expect to happen is for them to spit in my face and call me names and not accept my amends and for something horrible to happen, just like I do for every speaking commitment too, by the way. It's like a theme. But 9 out of 10 times the unexpected happens. And if I'm painstaking, because it's the first time I have to relate to the world, go out into the world with God, with this relationship, with this power that I decided to be in a relationship with, that makes me feel like I'm not alone, that is holding my hand. I feel safe, protected with this power. I don't know why I feel safe, protected in this power, but the moment that I decided to get into a relationship with this power, I acknowledged this power, actually. That power was with me. I was honoring that power. It was more important to me to honor that power when making amends than the person that I harmed. It hurt me that I harmed them. It did hurt me that I harmed them. But I didn't make amends to them so I can stay sober. I didn't make amends to them because you put fear of drinking into me. I didn't make amends to them so that I can tell you that I made amends to them. Because by that time, this power was working in my heart. It has done something miraculous in my heart. And I don't know how to put words into that. I have no idea what I'm doing, by the way. Here's a disclaimer. I have no idea what I'm doing. I really don't. I'm still looking for the words on the things I have experienced. And like if I ever speak again, it might be totally different. Because I might be totally different. And where I'm at might be totally different. Because my definition of harm when I had a year sober is totally different than my definition of harm at 17 years sober. Totally different. My relationship with this power and how it moves me was totally different 10 years ago, than 5 years ago, than a week ago. Do you know what I mean? And if I'm painstaking about this phase of it, I will be amazed before I'm halfway through. Halfway through what? The amends. So if I have 20 amends, halfway through, by the time I'm done with 10, you're going to start feeling these promises. These promises that we read all the time, and they sound so fancy, and we read them at all the meetings, and it's just like right over my head, right? Unless I have the experience. I can only comprehend the word serenity if I've experienced it. I will know peace only if I've experienced it. I can't put a price on that peace that I had experienced as a result of making amends, as a result of serving this power, and the gratitude and the movement in the heart that I experienced as a result of that, for my sponsor, for this program, for this Design for Living. And then I get into step 10. With those experiences, I come to step 10. Otherwise, 10 and 11 becomes a homework in rehab that they give me a 3 days sober, where I check off the marks. Have you heard that? Everybody? Nope. Were you honest? Yep. Do you owe any amends? No. I don't even know what these things mean. Because when I walked into Alcoholics Anonymous, I thought everybody lied. And I thought you had some agenda about being so honest. I mean, it was a little bit weird. It was like a little too honest. Now I'm like craving the honesty, the transparency, the vulnerability that I hear from the speakers today. I'm like, oh, men of faith, have courage. Look at this, that's freedom. That I admire. That's what I admire today. That's been a shift too. What I admire and what moves me has been a shift. So with this, I come into step 10, which only asks me to continue doing this work that I've done. Because, I come in with a dump truck full of resentments and fears and misunderstandings and confusions and anger and irritations and complaints and arguments with life and reality and my family and where I'm from and what my childhood should have been. A dump truck rolls into Alcoholics Anonymous for the first 4th step. The 10th step is spot check inventory. It's moment to moment. Check yourself. Be in awareness. Be in the witness consciousness, as my sponsor would say. Just watch. It's literally asking me to watch. It's not even asking me to do anything necessarily. It's just asking me to watch. Watching is a practice. To watch is a practice. Pay attention. Notice. Be here. Stay here. Don't move. Don't move for me is a spiritual practice. Because the mind will come in. And how do I practice restraint of pen and tongue? I don't move. How do I observe that? Where my inner climate is starting to shift and like something is bothering me and I'm feeling some sort of way. I'm feeling uncomfort. And by the time I get to this 10th step, I'm also a little bit more in tune with my body, right? My body's informing me when I'm not aligned with the truth. Something's off, right? That sixth sense has woken up. The book talks about it, right? That God consciousness, right? I have this relationship with this power, which is truth and love. And I just kind of know when I'm withholding truth or I'm withholding love. My body's screaming like pain, 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 pain. Can't sleep at night. Pain, pain, pain. Uncomfort, uncomfort, uncomfort. Don't look over here. Don't look over here. It's like, what do I know that I don't want to know? Because I have some story that I want to protect or some image that I want to protect, really. And yet, it's so funny. I for a lot of times I fall into the trap that I have to know and I don't really know the book how these speakers that came before me, and I don't nearly have as many men's experiences like Cleo, and I can never do a fourth and fifth like Joe. This is what the mind says. But really, the place where I find the most truth is in this humility of I really don't know. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know, and this is where the trust comes in. It will reveal itself. Everything. If I've entered the world of the spirit, as 10 and 11 talk about, then common sense becomes uncommon sense. That's a strong statement. Common sense becomes uncommon sense. What the hell does that mean? And what does that mean? What does that look like in my life? Well, just think about the step 1 experience. All that happened was I told the truth. And I was empowered as a result of that. Because I admitted I was hopeless, I felt hope. That's kind of upside down. I admitted I was powerless over alcohol. I felt empowered to take the next step. There was an intuitive thought or action that showed up even back then, even under the influence of alcohol. So just because I denied the presence of God doesn't mean the presence of God was not there. Just because I denied it. So really it's been, the book lays it out really beautifully. Continue to watch, continue to observe, be in the witness consciousness, and when they crop up, and they will crop up. The mind is going to crop up with its own agendas. Wanting to protect an image, being scared of losing something, being scared of not getting something. It's going to come up. I don't have to believe it, but it will crop up. I'm very grateful that in my journey of recovery, I have made incredible friendships and deep connections all around me. So my spot check inventory is literally moving the glass window of my coworker who's in long-term recovery and going, "Hey, can I process this with you?" And another coworker walking in, I'm crying, "Yeah, can we talk about this? Yeah." And another one coming in, and I'm "Okay, I prayed in the bathroom, yeah." So I'm lucky like that because I work in sober living, and I'm surrounded by coworkers that are my best friends, that are sisters on this recovery journey, that I can bounce things off all the time because self-appraisal is not sufficient, and I won't always see it, and sometimes I'll feel it, but I'll delude myself about what I'm feeling, and I need another person's input. And Step 10 tells us this. I share my life. I built transparent, vulnerable, honest relationships that have no agenda. We love each other. We're there for each other. We illuminate the path for each other. We inspire each other. We hold each other. We carry each other. And there's tons of them. Not just my sponsor. Not just my sponsor. She always told me, you got to get independent of me, dependent on God. Independent of me, dependent on God. You need to be sponsored by God. You need to be sponsored by truth and by love. Your heart needs to be open. And let that guide you. And that naturally guides us into relationships with others, because any awakening does not include you is not an awakening. It's not a full awakening. It's not really a complete awakening. And then, and yeah, there's some warnings like everywhere else in the book. Yeah, look out. You can delude yourself, by the way. And we're really good at lying to ourselves. The way I delude myself, nobody can delude me the way I delude myself. Drinking or not, just a simple thing. I'll pay a therapist top dollar to convince them I'm not an alcoholic while they're convincing me I am, while I'm drinking in their bathroom, hiding it, in my Snapple bottle, whiskey. Then I get a book on alcoholism. I go to a bar, I order a drink, and I'm reading a book about alcoholism. That's pretty delusional. And all of you have done it in some way or another. Yeah? Yeah, we're pretty delusional, right? And I think that's the rigorous honesty they're talking about. I think it's emotional self-honesty. And the only way for me to have that kind of honesty, or a barometer for me, is that it has no agenda. It's the kind of truth that asks for no agenda. Doesn't matter how it looks on me. I either stole that from you or I didn't. There was theft or there wasn't. I minimized that or I didn't. And we can go into why. But the first things first is I need to tell the truth, because the truth will set you free. And I've had those experiences too. And when you have experiences like that, then you know that that's the direction to go into. Because anytime I feel lighter and I feel that freedom, that's a pointer. That's a sign. Because I've always felt heavy. Life was a burden. Nobody was to be trusted. Life was not safe. Shoe was about to drop. Silence was an enemy. Keep busy, achieve, acquire, get, pretend, manage better. Such loneliness in that. Those of you who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. And but they didn't teach me that you know, like to live by these values. Like something in me opened up as a result of this work, and the spirit, not just my heart opened up, my spiritual heart opened up. And the spiritual heart, boy, when it opens up, it's as wide as the world. And I was craving this God, and I was yearning for this God, and I felt like this God was yearning for me too. Like it was just like there was like a, you know, I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted to taste more of this freedom. I wanted to get closer. I wanted an intimate relationship with this power. I was moved towards this power. In what sense? I was moved towards prayer, and I was moved towards silence. Not right away. My sponsors dropped me off at a retreat when I had 18 months sober. I had 18 months sober. I'm having this incredible experience with the big book and with the 12 steps, and I'm going to a ton of workshops, and I'm just hungry for like everybody else's experiences, and they're all inspiring me, and I'm listening to all these talks, and I'm going to every back to basics 12-step workshop in the state of New Jersey between 2008 and like 2015, like every single one, like every weekend, like everywhere. I was hungry for more. It was filling me up. I was getting fed, just like we're getting fed this weekend. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that kind of curiosity and that kind of hunger that was born in me as a result of this experience with the steps that I had with her first time around, and that looked for more. Because, you know, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps means that my spirit was asleep. And by the way, having a spiritual awakening, a part of spiritual awakening is I want to wake up more. That's a part of it. It moves us. It carries us. It wants us. It wants us. The whole deal is to get unblocked. Chad talked about it so well. And Julie, get unblocked. Empty yourself of self. Because self manifested in various ways is what defeats you. And self is going to continue to come back and try to reclaim you. To make us feel like we're taking over. Look, listen, I work in sober living, 5 sober houses, 85 beds. I haven't met an individual for 10 years. We're taking over. We're taken over by this thing. We don't even know who we are. And I can say that because that was me. I was taken over. I didn't even know what it meant to be real, to be honest, to be transparent, to be vulnerable. How can I connect to you if I'm not coming from that place? Because that's the place that connects us. When I look in your eyes and when I feel that love and I feel that connection, we don't even have to say much. I have this kind of relationship with every speaker that spoke here tonight. I felt like that with them. I felt intimately close with them without knowing them. I heard the place that they were speaking from. What they were speaking wasn't as important as where it was coming from. And it came from this experience of gratitude, this experience of this way of life. This way of life. This is a way of life. It's so fun. It's not like we do some spiritual stuff there and then I live my life. The whole thing is spiritual. This is a spiritual path. This is my spiritual path. This was the only thing that was going to bring me to my knees and bring me to God and bring me to an awakening that I wanted desperately without even know that I wanted it. This was a prayer I didn't even know I prayed for. I received exactly what I wanted. Actually, deep down inside, what I was yearning for. This kind of connection, this kind of sense of direction, sense of and a real purpose. a real purpose. And when I was 18 months sober, I was yearning to get closer to God and to seek through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact. I felt the conscious contact, and it was feeble, and it was here and there were moments, and then of course the mind would come in and doubt it, and then like your God was bigger than my God, you know, when I would compare myself to you, and I wanted a bigger God, and I wanted experiences that I heard you talk about that I didn't have, and you know, I wanted to levitate. Like I did back in the day. And so I quit smoking. I filled out an application, and they accepted me with a ton of warnings about my mental health, what can go wrong. And I signed up for a 10-night silent retreat. 11 days, 10 nights, no talking, no writing, no speaking, no facial expressions. Can't listen to anything, you can't say a word, nobody's talking to you. I'm in a tent in a mountain in Massachusetts, you know, next to a little tree. It's just me in the tent. And we meditate from 4 in the morning until like 9 o'clock at night, more or less. 1 hour sits. They start you off slow, you know, first 3 days, just pay attention to your breath. Just pay attention to your breath. It's okay to move. But then the third day, they whack you with, don't move for an hour. And let me tell you, at the end of I cried my eyes out. I had experiences. You want to know how powerless you are over your mind? Sit still. Just sit. You don't have to do anything. Just sit. Just sit. Just sit. Is stillness an enemy or a friend? Am I friendly with it? I had a song stuck in my head, one of the sits, that I don't even like, on repeat. It's laughter identification, right? Do you know what the next thought will be in your head? Let's just think happy thoughts when we wake up in the morning, purposely, and believe them. Right? Lack of power is my dilemma. Lack of power is my dilemma. It like all comes together, like this whole thing comes together. But it gives us some great suggestions that require courage. And I think this is what they mean by all men of faith have courage, because it takes a tremendous amount of courage and willingness to sit with myself and get curious. I got curious, get inquisitive, you know, and like just kind of go from the neck down and experience presence and mindfulness, and then have experiences as a result of that. That thing lasted, you know, after that retreat, I was literally levitating. Talk about neutrality. I mean, nothing came close to touching me. Like everything passed through me. There was like nothing. I was not uncomfortable with anything. I loved everybody. My heart was as wide as the world, you know. I was able to allow everything to be as it is. I had no agenda, no preference, no likes or dislikes. And then a month later, like somebody at the sober house pissed me off, and I took a cigarette and I got real anxious. So when these cropped up, I was like, God help me. In one form or another, I get brought back to my knees. And that's the truth. Like, I want to stand here and tell you that I know this stuff. And I want to stand here and tell you about all the experiences that were incredible that I've had in 17 years. And I want to stand here, and part of me wants to impress you and be liked by you and be accepted by you. And feel that I'm as equal as the speakers before me, which I feel like are incredible. And I feel so small at times next to that, or the mind says that. But boy, is humility the greatest thing that ever happens to me over and over and over again. And it tires this self that defeats me. Self, manifested in various ways, is what defeats us, and resentment is just one manifestation of that. I live in the virtual reality of my mind. These practices keep me here. Here. There's only this moment. And then there's this moment. And nothing else is happening. There's only this moment. Only this moment. And now there's only this moment. And I'm only here and now. And this is why we love certain things. Whether it's getting loaded, whether it's making love, whether it's a movie or something that we get lost in because we get taken away from our thoughts. But this gives us an opportunity that I get that as well when I'm serving that power. When I trust life, I go from fear, right, to trust. What would my life look like if I was in surrender to whatever occurred today? What would that day be like if I practiced that? So I do these different practices. I've been on like a dozen retreats. I've seen a lot of teachers. I have tried a lot of practices. It's a spiritual marketplace out there, man. You could do so much. Like, I go floating, I go chanting, I go yogaing, I go like whatever, like let me check it out. I go to church. I've gone to a mosque, I've done Kabbalah, I'm curious, I'm hungry, I want to be fed, I want to explore, I want to go on these travels, I want to, and I also don't have to because I've also been spiritually bypassed what's really happening with these things. I've also taken on a role of a meditator, and it has taken away from my humanness. It's incredible. The ego will rebuild itself anywhere and take credit for anything. It will take credit for a spiritual awakening. It will take credit for a 1 hour sit where I don't move. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. This thing is everywhere. And so it's been like this, like dance of like this humanness and divine. And these practices are 10 and 11 are practices to keep me awake, keep me grounded, keep me present, deepen and broaden my relationship with the depth of my own being. Page 55 talks about it. It is deep down within every man, woman, and child. It is the fundamental idea of God. Where am I to find it? Deep down within. Vital sixth sense, God consciousness, presence of that power. The book says it in so many ways. I get in the way what's already here, what's already present. What would my life look like if I trusted that? What would my life look like if I trusted? This is what it looks like. I don't want to do this. I don't want to come up here. The mind is resisting. It has a bunch of stories. I have enough practices not to believe it and show up anyway and say yes to things I don't necessarily want to do. I come up here, and there is a part of me that knows my job is just to show up. And when Karen is like praying with me up here, I trust her. I believe her. I believe the stuff that's coming. And when Jack comes up to me and looks me in the eye and tells me, we love you, everything's going to be great. I'm like, I believe him. Like, my mind doesn't want to believe him. Right? My mind is like, doubt. And then I'm like, my sponsor, doubt. It's a great practice, by the way. It's a great practice, right? That thing paused you. Right? That thing paused me. I was in a sober house on a payphone in the hallway. And I couldn't move. I was like... Unbelievable. You taught me that I could question everything, that I can get to know myself in a deeper way, that I can have an intimate relationship with this power closer than my breath, that I can be certain of its presence in my life, that I can feel safe and protected no matter what's happening in front of me. And as a result of that, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations, ups and downs, normal vicissitudes of life that have not shaken this faith per se, nor my sobriety. The mental obsession has not returned. Sanity is still present when it comes to booze. I see it as poison. I recoil from it as from a hot flame. But more importantly, the 10-step promises talk about the freedom from the mind. Freedom from the mind promises, which, by the way, couldn't even get me sober. And it had a lot of ideas on how to go about that. I changed states. I moved to California. Got kicked out of the first bar, the first night, made a mess. That was an amends. Actually, that was a good amends story. I got one thing. No, I'm kidding. You know? So 10 is really truth, and 11 is love. And this truth and love, you know, they manifest themselves in 12. Because 12 is an expression of that. I don't do services gets done through me as a result of upholding the values of truth and love and coming from that place. I don't know how that happens. I don't know why that happens. I don't know at what point that happens. And I think the most powerful prayer in the book for me is in the 11th step. And it says, thy will be done. And what does that really mean? All is allowed. Everything is allowed to be as it is. So even when, mom is, pushing my buttons and, I'm challenged by her view of the world and I'm a little bit cranky about the way she perceives those things. And I wish she had a different perspective, and I sit with these practices, or, and maybe I have a juicy moment for myself, like to vent, like just give me 2 minutes to vent, to be right and to vent and to all that. But then really fast, right, it doesn't feel good anymore. Because if my will and God's will have aligned, then that's what's going to become the primary desire, so to speak, right? They talk about it in this 10 or 11. It says, it is the proper use of will. You can use your will all you wish along these lines. It's the proper use of will, right? They suddenly give me back my will, right? They supposedly, that I took away, supposedly. That's what they want to make you believe. So you proceed with the work, but But, I realized that it's not a homework for me to be a good girl and to be a spiritual girl and to be a perfect girl and all these roles I've taken on and I've played at some points in my life. It's actually more natural for us to be loving. It is actually, the stuff we get to actually is normal. We're just so twisted and we have been so taken over by the mental anxiety and the narratives and the stories in our head that I think we've forgotten our true nature, which I think is of God and it's of love. And that we are connected and we are one and that we have a way that we can interact from that place. And that's why it feels like we have incredible amount of freedom from that place. But your will, not mine, be done calls for nothing. There's nothing in it for me. This is what they mean by less me, more God. This is about emptying, discarding, unblocking, removing. I'm a channel. You hear all this stuff in AA, right? Is anybody questioning these things? What does that really mean? I questioned everything. I was like, why do they say that? What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And half the people can't even answer it. It just sounds good. Thy will be done. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? But by the time we get to the 11th step, it's no resistance to life and how it unfolds and whatever it brings into my experience. I have no more argument. This is the 10-step promises. We cease fighting anything or anyone. And then it's dash, even alcohol, okay, I'll put that in there. But really, what's happening is you're no longer fighting anything or anyone. All is allowed. The things you don't like, the things that come into your view, the things that unfold in your experience, the things you're scared about, the things you don't, your preferences and likes and dislikes, it don't matter. All is allowed. I thought you guys were going to teach me how not to drink. This is crazy. Talk about depth and weight. It's incredible. The kind of freedom that this thing gives us and allows us to have. And then from that place, being an empty vessel, we move. We are moved to service. We're moved to serve. Because the awakening is really not complete without that, without including you. It must include you. It includes you. It wants to be shared. It is not for me, which is why the mind cannot make sense of the St. Francis prayer. We often talk about the St. Francis prayer being the 11th step prayer. There's nothing in it for the mini-me, the me-go. Nothing. There's nothing in it for the little me. Right? It makes no sense. It is better to understand than to be understood. It is better to love than be loved. Wow. It is in giving that one finds. I got one line down. It's something about forgiveness. But you get the gist, right? We share it, we share these gems. They're pointers to a way of being. They're pointers to a way of being. So today the mantra is, I want to live my life from the neck down. These practices have taken a life of their own. It's not something I do mechanically anymore, although I have also floated away from them, like I float away when I'm in the ocean. You know, when you're on the ocean, and then you like lift your head at some point. I lift my head and I'm like so far away from where I started. It's unbelievable. I float away like that from some of these practices, and I'm lucky enough that I'm often reminded and brought back to these practices one way or another. And I'm so grateful for that. And I still have a long way to go in so many ways. But thanks so much for letting me share.